Hi everyone, this is Tanya from Flying Dog Studio. Thank you so much for joining me as we do a little Impressionism painting for this one. As you can see, I have my canvas ready. This is a watercolor canvas. It's a master's touch. I got this from Hobby Lobby. If you're in the US, you know what Hobby Lobby is probably. And it was on sale. These are not expensive canvases. This is a 5x5. I'll hold this up. You can pause the screen if you want to take a look at the information. And I love these canvas. They are inexpensive and they seem high quality. They always do the job. So let's get started. And what we're going to be using on this one are the Caran Neocolor II. Now these are not the regular Caran, the regular pastel crayons. These are the water soluble ones. And if you didn't catch my box opening on these and where I swatched the colors, I'll link that down below for you. So let's take a look at what I'm going to be using. These are the colors from my palette. I have pink. Then we have light blue, and then my favorite in the whole set, which is turquoise blue, my favorite color. I have black. Then we have a little umber, some gray, and the light gray. And finally, we have white. And if you haven't guessed it, it's going to be a winter scene. It's a landscape. Let's take a look at the brushes. We have the flat brush. I wanted to keep that on hand because I like using that for wide areas of color. And then I have my size 6 round and always keep my size 3 round on hand. These are from Winsor & Newton from their Cotman series. Then we also have the microfiber cloth and a cup of water. So let's get started. And I'm going to slow the screen down when I bring the colors up so you can see what I'm using on there. And like I said, it's a landscape painting. So my reference for that is going to be down below. Everything you need is going to be down below. Any kind of supplies that I'm using, I'm going to link those. I'm not going to link the canvas. And the reason for that is I looked on Hobby Lobby to see if they had it. They don't have the size, and I couldn't get the stretched canvas. I could only get the canvas board, and I really like a stretched canvas. So I'm not going to link that down below for you, but you can take a look around. There are other excellent brands out there. So basically what I'm doing here, since this is a landscape painting and we're doing it Impressionism, I wanted something that was not totally in focus. Why? Because for me, I'm a realist painter, and if I see a leaf, I'm going to draw it. So I don't want to see a leaf. I want to see clumps of color. So what I did from the reference photo below was I took it, I put it in a digital art app, and for me, that is Procreate. And I knew this was a 5x5, so I did a square canvas on there, put the picture in, zoomed in on just the part of the reference that I wanted, and then I put a little bit of a blur on that picture. Not a lot, just about, I think, 3% over on the blur. And that allowed me to see clumps of color, but not individual things like limbs and leaves and blades of grass, because again, if I see them, I'm going to draw them. Usually I take a photo and make certain that I can't see a lot in it, and I will choose a portion of a landscape, the blurriest portion, I'll do that. But this was nice and crisp, and I didn't want it nice and crisp. That just helps me to focus in on the clumps and the colors and the form, and I'm not tending then to go toward the realism. I can keep it more the Impressionism. So as you see, we're starting this with the background color, just laying it in. I'm just scribbling. I'm only concerned about form right now, so I'm not really focusing in on anything other than shape, and whether it's light or it's dark. This was a nice gray piece. It had a little bit of color. As you can see, I have the blues and I have the pink over there, and then that umber tends a little toward green, and I needed that for some of the area in the back. I don't think I actually used it in this video. Yeah, there's more than one part. Sorry about that, guys. I really like to take this in little sections so that you're not overwhelmed with everything at once. Plus, when you're working on a canvas like this, you have to let it dry. I'm not going to be able to just come in and paint right on top of it again. And because it's on a canvas and this is water, I can't really use my hairdryer. I mean, I could if I wanted to get that kind of effect, but if I use a hairdryer on this, I'm just going to push the color all over the place where I don't really want it, and I'm going to be using a lot of water. You're going to see that in just a second. So, not too worried if I'm not getting it just right. Again, this is for me. When you're making art, I think you need to do what feels right to you. I mean, we're artists. We can take that creative liberty and do whatever we want to do. So, mostly when I'm working on a piece, I always say, always add just a little bit. You can always come back and take it off later. I'm doing a little reverse on this one because on this type of thing and using the watercolor canvas, once I start to activate it with the water, and you can see I'm using a lot of water here, then it's going to make the color super light. So I want a little darker than what I normally would. And I'm starting with the sky. So I'm going to start with the background, do the midground, and then come to the foreground as far as putting the color on. And then when we're working on our following layers. So that, again, that's why we're doing more than one video, because I have to let it dry, and I can only work about 20 minutes anyway at a time. So that's perfect for me in doing this kind of art. I work a little bit, I let it dry, come back the next day, so it works out perfectly. So again, not worried if the colors run together. This is just my base color. I'm going to put everything else on top, and you'll see the techniques I use. I'm going to use a couple of techniques with this so that I can get it just the way I want it, and then I'm going to finish it off a little bit differently than what I normally do, and that will be in video 3. So all of the videos are done. And there are only 3 videos, and they're not very long. Like I said, I wanted to take this in small portions. I didn't want to put it all in one video. I could have, but I think, if you're working with me on something, you're going to need to let it dry as well. So you might as well wait until the next video is out. And we're going to try to do that pretty quickly here. So I'll have this video out, and then when you're watching it, not the next day, but the next, I'll have the next video out. That gives me some time to voice over it, and just in case life happens in between. So if you are working on this, you're not, as it's coming out, you're not going to have to wait very long. All right, now my technique for applying the water. Lots of water, as I said, and I'm not worried if the background and foreground kind of run together. That's okay. I'm going to just keep going, because when I put colors on top, it's going to change this a little bit underneath anyway, because when you're working on canvas like this, it's not soaking in like it does on paper. It's riding on the surface. So it's a little bit different. And if you've never worked on watercolor canvas before with a water medium like this, just take your time with it and don't get discouraged. Do a little bit. If it doesn't feel right to you, just set it down, come back later, because I really love working on this stuff, and I think once you start working on it, you'll like it too. But use a lot of water on the first layer, and notice that I'm moving in kind of a circular motion, and that's to make certain all of that is getting activated, that I'm breaking up all of the color and it's turning into watercolor. That's a very important thing, whether you're working on paper or you're working on canvas. You want to make certain that you get all of that pigment activated, because when you come in with the next color, especially working on paper, when you come in with the next color, you want it to lay on top. You really don't want it to mix together. So I'm working in a circular motion, making certain that everything gets activated, and you'll see that that lighter layer and that darker layer are going to kind of come together, but that's okay. That is not a problem. And you'll lift a little color too when you're doing this. Again, not a problem. We're going to come back later and put some more on top. The next one that I put out, the next video, is going to be adding a little more form to this. We can already see that we have background trees and middle ground. You have some foreground that's snow, and then you have a clump of dark bushes right in the front, and that's what I'm working on there. And I decide later on in the next video that I want to add a little bit more color to that, and because it's on canvas, I can do that. I can actually change what's on there without lifting the whole thing off. And that's one thing you will see when you're looking at these canvases, especially the Master's Touch. I believe that's where I saw it in the description. It said, oh, it's so forgiving. You can just come and wipe everything off and start all over. You can wipe everything off and start all over, but with this, if you just leave it on there, let it dry, you can color right back over the top and it works just as well, because like I said, there are going to be a few things that I change on this. Okay, with a few more strokes, we're going to have this first layer completely done. And what I want you to notice as we come into this last little bit here is the sky. You can already tell it's starting to dry, and there's a little bit of a water line around there. I'm going to point that out in just a minute, and that's okay. You're going to get that with these. You're going to get ballooning, and that's okay, because in the end, when we put color back on top, see, there it is, it's going to all disappear. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your being here. I hope you'll join me for the following episodes of this. I have some more fun stuff coming up. I hope you'll join me for that too. But until then, my friends, I will see you in the next one.